Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's Friday, and we have our stories of hope today. And I'm always so honored to facilitate this experience and host this experience because we have amazing guests that join us and that are here to inspire you with hope. Our first guest today is Angilie Kapoor. She's a highly acclaimed workplace and business leader with over 20 years of experience in healthcare and over 5 years as an entrepreneur. She's dedicated to helping workplace, business, and life aspiring and ambitious leaders to increase their confidence and effectiveness and amplify their impact. Through her extensive background in management, leadership, and entrepreneurship, she offers valuable knowledge and insights gained from her own journeys. Welcome to the show today, Angilie.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yes. So, what got you started on this path that you're on right now, being an entrepreneur, being a business leader? What got you there?
Actually, what got me here was I kind of ironically, I was in the middle of my healthcare management career. I was, going really strong in my career as a manager in the healthcare industry. I was about in my 7th year of doing that. And I just kind of out of nowhere, not expecting at all, had no type of warning at all, but I got laid off from the position, my healthcare management position that I was in at that time. And that really set me into this whirlwind of, trauma and being angry. And really, the biggest thing for me was really kind of losing my identity at that time because, I had unknowingly to myself put my identity, everything that I was, into my job title and into my career. And so it was really a challenging time for me, dealing with different types of emotions and not really being clear on, who Angilie really is and where I wanted to go from there. But ultimately, I spent, months kind of recollecting myself, processing the different emotions that that experience had brought up for me, and ultimately really dove into self-discovery and self-awareness and rediscovered who, Angilie really is. And that really led me to really pursue the part of my job as a manager that I was really passionate about, which was mentoring and coaching my staff. And also wanting to really address the gap of leadership preparation, training, and ongoing development that I really saw and experienced in the workplace. And so that's how I became a conscious leadership coach. And I've been doing that ever since 2019.
2019. So that was right before COVID.
Yeah.
So thank God you went through that situation, that trauma first, because then came the second trauma, when we went into COVID. But since you were already in that process, then already now being at home, you were able to then, I'm assuming, to start building your business online. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I was able to do that. But yes, going through COVID shortly after was definitely, kind of another, oh wow, okay, so we have to kind of readjust and figure out how to do this as well from this point. But yeah, I mean, that was really the turning point for me. I think that some people out there can really resonate and relate with that experience because that's something that I know millions of people are going through today. And, I know from personal experience how traumatic that really is, when you're not expecting it, when really the rug gets pulled out from under you because, you have all of this financial security and support that's really taken away from you all of a sudden. And I know that when I was processing my layoff and experiencing dealing with other people and talking about that, it was, people really didn't know what to say. It's kind of like when you let somebody know you've lost somebody, near and dear to you, and you're processing that grief and trauma. And people really didn't know what to say to me when I, said, oh, well, unfortunately, I got laid off, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what my next move is. And, there's also some aspect that I experienced where people didn't feel that it was a big trauma. They were like, oh, no big deal. Just, get yourself back together, put your resume together and start applying for jobs and get back on the horse. But, it for me, and I don't think it's the experience of everybody, but for a majority of people, getting laid off, even though it's taboo, doesn't seem like a big deal. It can be a very traumatic experience for everybody. And I think that that's one of the things I want to bring to light to people is, even though societally we've kind of made it kind of this little t trauma, it can be a big deal trauma for some people.
Well, especially, when you were talking about, first of all, it was a surprise. So
Right.
you didn't see that coming. That came out of nowhere. And on top of it, you were going along, you were happy in your job. You loved certain aspects of your job in mentoring and teaching. You loved that. And so also you had said earlier when you were telling the story that your identity was affected. So not only was your security affected by it, your financial security, but then also your identity, because you had poured your soul and your identity in it. And then all of a sudden, when you don't have that anymore, then you have to step back and like, now I don't have that financial income anymore. And I counted on it and I depended on it. And
Mhm.
that's a trauma. And then the second thing is, and on top of it, who am I without this job?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I think that, there are other people out there who are going through the same thing, because I think that especially, our jobs, our professional careers, we are, 9 to 5s or sometimes even longer. People spend more time at their jobs than they do at home with their families. So
Yeah.
like you said, and like I mentioned, it really does become, it can become your identity if you don't recognize that that's kind of happening in the background, and really recognizing that you are a complex person, and you don't just wear one hat, you don't just have one title or identity, and really at your core figuring out who you are and recognizing that ultimately I was able to recognize that what I do for a living, what I do to generate income so that I can do the things that I want in my life, that doesn't necessarily define me. I'm a much more complex, much more significant person at the core of who I am. And I think that, it's helpful for people to come to that realization, so that when things like this unexpectedly happen, they don't go through, the trauma that I did, of having to, stop and say, oh, I thought that that was me, but who am I really?
Yeah. I mean, it's again, you're talking about when people don't make it seem like, it's the same kind of thing when, like we said, when someone dies and we lose someone that's close to us, people don't know what to say.
Right.
It's that same thing. It's a loss. We're experiencing a loss. And I really feel that everyone has their own process of grief.
Hmm.
It just depends on how deep a person is going and what it's bringing up for each person. That's the thing. So I find that a lot with people when they just don't know what to say when someone is grieving, no matter what the loss is. And so that's why they're like, okay, you've had 5 days, pull yourself together and
Right.
get back on the horse, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, talking to other people who've gone through layoffs as well, or similar situations where people, didn't really respond in the way that they wanted. And talking with those people and thinking about my own experience, the worst thing that people can do, I mean, I know I've been in that situation too. It's hard to know what to do or say when somebody is going through an experience that affects them like that. But I believe the worst thing that a person can do is say nothing. Even if you don't know what to say, even just say that, say, I'm sorry
I
that
don't
this
know
is
what to,
happening to you. I
yeah.
don't really, know how to help you or what to say, but, please, let me know. Because I mean, I had, again, I was a manager for a very long time, and I had over 80 staff members and then a whole bunch of other colleagues. And out of all of those people, I only heard from a handful of people after my layoff happened. And that was really part of my trauma, was that I felt like those people that I poured my heart and soul into for all those years didn't care enough about me to just text me or give me a phone call and say, "Hey, so sorry that happened. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, not only did you lose your job, you lost your people that you were coaching as
Right.
well and
Hmm.
mentoring as well. But good for you for being able to once you were in this situation, which it seems like now you can look back and see that it was such a gift,
Right.
that this was a gift. But a lot of times when we're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel like a gift, and it doesn't feel good, and
Exactly.
it doesn't feel like a gift. I know that nowadays people are really, really strapped financially.
Hmm.
When the rug was pulled out from underneath you, were you already experiencing financial hardship, or did you have support? Did you already have money aside so that you can deal with this unforeseen expense?
Yeah, fortunately, I have a husband who is very frugal and who's very well-minded in finances. So, fortunately, at that time, I did, have support that I could go ahead and tap into. I know that, we all hear it that you should have 3 months worth of income. So in case something happens, you are going to be okay for a little bit until you can get back on your feet. And that was the case, for us. We had some money in savings that I could tap into. Plus, I was able to get a nice severance, which was nice. And then I also was able to get unemployment for a period of time. So financially, I was okay, which was nice. I know that that's not the case for a lot of people, but definitely going through that experience. When I do talk to people, I'm like, it's not a joke. When people say make sure that you have something going on in the background, some resources that you can pull from in case something happens, because you never know. Because again, that was my case. I had no idea, came out of nowhere, and then we then had COVID not shortly after. So again, something nobody knew was going to happen, didn't expect it. So yeah, I mean, I definitely encourage people to, do that for themselves, make sure that they have resources that they can tap into in case an emergency happens.
Yeah, a lot of, like a lot of people that I work with, people that I deal with, a lot of them are women entrepreneurs. They
Hmm.
have been women entrepreneurs for, anywhere between, 5, 10, 15 years. And when you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, that's where your income is coming in from. It's
Right.
challenging, especially in this economy right now that we're in the last 4 years of where things are. So I know that people that are going through a challenging time on a financial level, even not being able to have that have 3 months in the bank covered so that if something happens, so um, that is ideal. That is ideal, but that doesn't seem to be um, the normal thing right now. That's
Right.
I'm hearing and seeing where people are just really challenged in this way. And that's
Hmm.
part of the thing that really needs to get fixed in our system as well.
Right.
So I just want to speak to it, but for the people that are out there that are struggling with this, because it's challenging, it's difficult. And, find yourself a support system and find supports that people that believe in you and that can support you in that way as well.
Exactly, exactly. And I know that, I know for me in the beginning, especially when I started my healthcare management career, when I first became a manager for the first time, and then also when I started my entrepreneur journey, asking for help was a huge kind of deal for me. I grew up kind of learning and being under the impression that asking for help was a sign of weakness. That if I asked for help, then it meant that I didn't know what I was doing when I should have, that, I wasn't as strong or capable of doing something on my own. But I mean, I've since learned that really asking for help is a strength. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it takes a lot of bravery and courage to do that. And so I really encourage people to really, think about their perspective on asking for help and getting support, and really look at it from different angles, and really see if it's something that type of perspective has been limiting you, and really try and overcome that, and come to a point where you are able to ask for help. I think that another thing that we kind of run into as a society is that we are told that we have to do things ourselves and be isolated, but really, I think we're really meant to be connected and to support one another in any way that we can.
I work so much better when I have a team of people that
Yeah,
I'm working with, from my VA to my website person to people that help me get things done, because it just keeps the circle flowing, and it keeps accountability and productivity going. I just work so much better, with that. So I think it's important that we ask for help. There's, a level of, like you said, vulnerability. And I think that nowadays it's important for us to know that in being vulnerable, that is the new strength. By us being vulnerable and talking about openly what we need and what we need support with, that's an important piece, and that we don't need to be suffering in silence.
exactly, exactly.
So you have a book behind you. You want to tell us about that book?
Yeah, I actually have four books behind me. It's actually three because one comes with an accompanying workbook. But I started my writing journey, I want to say like 3, maybe 4 years ago. But it was something unexpected. I did not grow up thinking I was going to be a writer. But I really felt kind of this calling to, put my experience on paper and get it out there, and maybe somebody would pick it up who really needs to hear that type of message, and to help them pick up their day and help them process something they were going through in life. So both of my main books are on mindset, because mindset was a huge topic for me in transforming and growing and processing. And so my first book was really an introduction on mindset and really what I learned about it at the time that I was discovering more about it. And then my second book is Leader Mindset Activation, and that is really more of the methodology of how you can first discover what your mindset currently is, and then start to shift and transform it. And then also talks about, how it's really a lifestyle change, takes consistency. It's not a one and done type thing. And that comes with the accompanying workbook of exercises to help somebody do that. And then the last book there is actually a compilation series from Jim Britt, who is a thought leader. He's a speaker and coach all over the world. And so I'm one of 20 authors who contributed a chapter in the book, and it's endorsed by Tony Robbins, and the foreword is written by Brian Tracy.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are wonderful endorsements. To get endorsements from people like that speaks very highly. So I just want to let the audience know where they can get your books, and also where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so they can get all of my books on Amazon. So if you just look up my name, Angilie Kapoor, or even type in Leader Mindset Activation, it'll come right back up. And then these are available in audio book, ebook, as well as physical book. And then you can find me at my website, which is oversightglobal.com. So that's OVERSIGHT global.com. It's the name of my coaching company. And you can find everything out about me, and then plus all of the links to my social media.
Perfect. Well, Angilie, congratulations on all your success helping so many people worldwide. That's wonderful what you're doing. And I wish you many wonderful, meetings and networks of people that you're inspiring and mentoring and teaching. And thank you for coming on the show. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Jen Taylor. Jen Taylor is LCSW is a New York-based spiritual psychotherapist with 23 years of experience. Jen specializes in women's empowerment, domestic violence, teens and LGBTQIA plus individuals. Jen incorporates spirituality and astrology into her sessions to create a truly unique blend of guidance. She's also the editor of Girl on Fire magazine, A Wind Down with Jen, where she uses her 20 plus years of experience as a New York-based spiritual psychotherapist to bring you cozy couch conversations that you would have with your best friend over a glass of wine after work. I'm glad you're here, Jen Taylor. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Really
So
looking forward.
you've got quite the experience being a psychotherapist. That must have been, over your life's work.
Mhm.
You've seen it all.
I've heard some very interesting life stories. Yes.
Yeah. And so that probably supports you to be able to help people the way that you do.
Yes, I feel like through my own experience and through the stories of others, I definitely have been able to open my mind and spirit to the acceptance of other people's issues and to provide hope. I think we're both on the same page here with what we're looking to do for other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. To offer people hope at a time when things seem hopeless or when there doesn't seem to be a way out.
Yes.
Right, is the reason why we're doing this. Is there's
Absolutely.
always a way out and there is hope. And sometimes even when we're in the darkest of times, in the darkest of depth of shadow, there is a reason, even though we may not see the reason, but there is an opportunity for us to rise up out of that and come
Yes.
out on the other side.
Exactly. So is it okay to talk about the book series? Because this is
Yeah, let's
really what I
go.
wanted to
That's
share.
what we were talking about
Okay,
before
great.
you came on. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you just wrote a book series or you're in the process of it.
Yes, so it's an ongoing process with Blair Hayes and Elite Publishing have given me the opportunity to put this series together. This is the first volume, and they are all tough topics that society tends to not want to talk about, but I do feel in this day and age we have to talk about them, for our young people, our teenagers, our young 20s. The series is called Letters to Myself, and it is basically trigger warning. These are hard topics to hear about. But for example, the first volume is on self-harm and suicide. So it's a collection of letters from people who have come to the other side of these thoughts and actions, survivors, we can say. And the hope is that the reader will find hope and inspiration in reading, survivors' letters.
Survivor's letters, yeah. So how long are how long are those letters? Are they 500 words or?
I wanted to keep it very free, so I don't have a specific word count. It's really however long, the individual wanted to spend. I have some poems, there's different formats.
So what inspired you to do this series? Like, what was the reasoning
Yeah.
behind it?
So basically, I'll make it short. My daughter, who was a teenager at the time, had a medical appointment in one of the New York City hospitals. And one of the people, when we walked in, handed me a sheet saying that they might talk to my teen about mental health because suicide was the number 2 cause of death in the United States for adolescents.
Wow.
So I knew the statistics were scary, but this really shocked me. And I felt, I have 2 kids in their 20, my oldest is 25 and the youngest is 17 now. And through some of their friends' experiences and my own kids' experiences, and, with my clients, I just felt that there was a need to really put something out there and to help in whatever way possible.
Yeah, I think it's important. I am a suicide survivor because I suffer from suicide ideation for most of my life until I was in my mid-30s.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a miracle that I am alive. It's a miracle that I am here. And that's why I know that suicide is something that can be overcome,
Mhm.
and that we don't have to take that action. That
Yes.
really, basically, when we feel so consumed with
Mhm.
not being able to find a way out of whatever that darkness is or the pain is,
Mhm.
that there is a way. And I found also that people that commit suicide don't necessarily want to commit suicide.
Mhm.
What they want to do is they want to kill the pain.
Yes.
That's what they want to kill. They don't want to kill themselves, but they want to kill the pain. The pain
Right.
sometimes is too much to bear.
I agree, and I thank you for sharing something so personal. It's very moving. And I wouldn't be here talking with you today. So I'm really grateful that you're here too.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
so interesting because having been walking in the shadow of suicide, that at
mhm.
any point in time that could get triggered, and then I would be in a phase where I would be consumed with those thoughts and those
Mhm.
emotions. But I can tell you that um, that is long in my past, and that's not something that I, as a spirit, as a person,
Mhm.
have to face anymore, because it's been integrated into my humanness now. It's not something that pulls me in anymore. It doesn't have the pull.
That's
It's
beautiful.
it is. So that's why I know, hey, I know that if I could do it,
Yeah.
I know there's other people that could do it too. I think it's wonderful that you are, because I was going to ask you what the statistic is in America right now, and you said it's the number two. Um, it's the number two killer in America is suicide. And I think for young people,
Mhm. Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why you were asked when it was presented to you, when you brought your child to the doctor, and they told
Yes.
you that they wanted to be able to talk to your kid about mental health.
Right.
I think it's an important piece. So tell us about how does your book start? What are the topics again?
So the first volume, and keep in mind, if anyone who's listening, watching, these are triggering topics. The first one is self-harm and suicide. The second is sexual assault, rape, and incest. The third is addiction. The fourth, which was just published last month, is bullying, abuse, and religious cults. And the next volume, 5, which will come out on the 27th of September, is LGBTQIA plus stories and parental estrangement. And there's 2 more. Volume 6 will be on wrongful incarceration, being a person of color in America, and transgenerational trauma. The last volume will be more general, spiritual, mental, and physical well being.
Wow. So are these books available on Amazon or?
Yes, they are. They're available in Kindle format, and a few weeks after the Kindle, they're available in paperback. I'm just really grateful to Blair for because these are topics, like I said, that are really vital now as we've discussed. But not everyone wants to really talk about it or engage in it. So I'm just really grateful, and I'm grateful for you guys, for having me to be able to talk about it. Because my main hope is to get word out.
Yeah, about the series and get it out. I think that would be very helpful, because again, it's in through telling our stories
Right.
that we heal, and that when someone can relate to
Hmm.
another person that's gone through deep emotional pain, and what
Yes.
the traumas that you're talking about, it's huge. Tell us the name of the series, how people can find it
Sure.
on Amazon, so
Okay.
they.
I'll just show the cover again. So it's called Letters to Myself. That's the main series, and so there's different volumes on excuse me, on Amazon, Kindle. You don't need the Kindle anymore. You can just download the app, and then the paperbacks for volume 1 to 4 are already out, and the rest will be forthcoming.
Okay, so do you feel like giving us one story that is short that you can share here today?
Sure. Um, it's a very personal story. My son, who's 25, had some addiction issues, and he has his name in this book, so I know I have his permission to discuss this. And he, there was a time where he did not have control of his addiction, and there was a morning that we didn't know if he was going to wake up, and he did, and he's working, and he's successful and happy. He went through a rehab program, and he wrote a letter in this volume. So I'm proud, Mom. And
Oh,
I'm just so blessed and happy that he's alive and well. And you can read more about it. And I'm just so moved that you shared your story, because it's very brave. It takes a lot of courage, and there's some shame. There can be shame around it. And so all I suggest to people listening and watching is, don't be afraid to share your story, because chances are, like, I would never know that you experienced that, but you told me. So chances are there is someone who understands, and there is help, and there is hope.
well, I experienced a lot of trauma in my life, and even in my days of when I was walking with the shadow of
Mm-hmm.
suicide, I was also a drug addict, and I was on drugs for probably a functioning drug addict for
Mm-hmm.
probably 13 years of my life. So, and that's why I said it's also a miracle that I'm here, that I didn't succeed. The angels were
Yes.
working overtime to keep me alive,
Yes.
that I didn't succeed with harming myself because I was, consuming drugs. And at the time,
Yes.
it was cocaine and it was methamphetamine. And so
Mm.
those are big,
That's
big,
a tough one. The meth is a very tough addiction, from what I've
yeah.
heard, to overcome.
So to be able to walk away from it, that's why, like, right now, it's like, wow, to be able to overcome so many things, and then to be here now,
Yes.
like your son is doing. He's doing great. He has recovered, he's healed from that. He said
Yeah.
no to the addiction on some level and
Mm-hmm.
said, no, I want better for myself,
Right.
right?
I'm getting emotional. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's huge, because it's I remember the time of when I was so deep in it, that I remember thinking that I don't want to live unless I can do drugs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. I mean, I couldn't even imagine my life without it. So to be able to, um, because you don't know anything else. You don't
Right.
know anything else, So I think the work that you're doing in letters to myself, I think that's a beautiful gift that you're
Thank
giving humanity to support people with that, because especially nowadays, there's so many things that we are faced with, so many traumas,
you.
so many things that
Yes.
we need to support each other with all the things that every little bit helps. Like I
Mm-hmm.
told you even before we came on the show, that the journaling aspect, I'm
Mm-hmm.
an
Yeah.
avid journaler. So that's really how I healed myself, is through journaling my own, process. So written many letters to myself, many letters to the
Beautiful.
universe. And, but I know that, these things can be overcome. And so there is hope at the end of the tunnel there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So, what do you want to, can you let the audience know on how they can look you up on social media and
Oh,
find
sure.
you there?
Yes. So on Facebook,
Mhm.
um, I'm under Jen Taylor LCSW, just like my name here. On Instagram, at Healing with Jen Taylor. And those are probably the best ways to reach out.
Yeah, good. Now, are you still doing one-on-one sessions with people?
I am. I am.
Tell us about that. What does that look like?
Well, I feel like I've been doing therapy my entire life. I think that's sort of my soul calling, one of the things. So I just went to social work school when I think I was about 29. It's like, let's just get a degree in this. But I love what I do. my premise is really to help people find strength and hope within themselves, because I feel like we all have such a tremendous capacity as human beings and divine human beings. And a lot of times we just don't see our way, you know? So that's my aim. And yeah, I really get a lot out of it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you're doing, that you're still seeing one-on-one clients, you're doing this series, and on top of it, you've got the Cozy Conversations. Tell us about that. The magazine, is it a magazine or?
Yes, that's another Blair Hayes magazine. I don't think it's on now, but I was doing a column on basically therapeutic topics, so all of these topics which we've discussed. But I'm sure you can still get access to the online ones. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but tell us about it. Like what? Yeah.
So basically, what do you do if you're stressed out today? Like, how do I handle being stressed out, right? I have to take my kid to school. I have to walk my dog. I have to work, a lot on self-care. Even those few minutes, like for me, it's bubble baths. I love taking a bath by candlelight. I teach people the breathing exercises, even though, a lot of times it takes time for these things to click. But I do find it helpful. Like for me, I finally was able to it just clicked for me about 5 years ago, how to do the breathing. So don't give up, keep trying.
Yeah.
And also just to I think there's so much, particularly as women, that society expects from us, of what we're supposed to do, whether it be work, childcare. And really, I think, the trick is to not internalize a negative dialogue, which is something I did for many years. And I think a lot of women and people do it. So I work with my clients on, some cognitive techniques on how to change our self-talk from negative to positive. And it really does make a difference in how we feel about ourselves.
I think that's so important, the negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
This is also another important. I was just thinking about that this morning,
Yeah.
learning how to accept yourself and be with yourself and love yourself. How you are with yourself is then how you go out into the world and treat other people in that way. And I remember when I learned to put a boundary down for myself, to my own thinking
Mm-hmm.
of, my own negative thoughts. I remember that when I put a boundary down, I put that boundary down. It's kind of like the line in the sand. And I
Yes.
said, absolutely, under no circumstances are you allowed, I'm saying this to myself,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, under no circumstances are you allowed to speak negatively to yourself. That was
Absolutely.
that was the boundary. And it's amazing to put that boundary down
Mm-hmm.
towards myself. So since that time, I might want to,
Mm-hmm.
but then I see the boundary and it's like, I can't. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to speak negative. I'm
I
only
love
allowed
that.
to accept myself. So
Yes.
it really helped me. This was many years ago, but it really helped me. I thought about it this morning. So
Oh, that's
thank
great.
you for bringing that up.
Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that too.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We wish you much success with
Thank
your
you so much.
series, and we'll definitely look forward to looking into it myself.
Thank you. Happy to have
Okay,
you here.
thank
Okay.
you. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Dana Nygaard. Dana says there are women driven by insecurity who settle for men who don't value them, only to suffer in silence in a loveless or downright abusive marriage. Dana is a renowned psychotherapist, relationship coach, author, and national speaker who teaches single Catholic women how to date intentionally, stop settling, and start choosing wisely. She gives them the confidence and tools to know when a man is worth it and when we have to walk away. Dana's here today to share a glimpse of the strategies that she's used to heal from her past, to find her husband, David, so that you can begin transforming your love life as well. Welcome to the show today, Dana Nygaard.
Thanks. It's very exciting to be here with you.
So, okay, you're teaching single women. So is it only single Catholic women, or is that your niche, but any single woman can?
Any single woman can join, exactly. It's a little bit like my private practice. Sometimes non-Catholics come to me. They just have to know that if something comes up theologically, it will be from a Catholic perspective, but it's not going to be heavy in that. So anyone who, believes in a higher, being, the universe, Christians, they're gonna be good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember, putting on a retreat or an event and it said for women, and men showed up.
Exactly.
It's that. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. So, what was your passion to start this, to support women in this way?
Okay, so it was twofold. In my private practice, I would have these single, mostly Catholic women come to me, and they'd be telling me about, we'll call him John Doe, right? And they would say, well, John Doe does this. He brings me flowers. Awesome. John Doe opens car doors for me. Awesome. And then John Doe the other day got angry and he shook me. Right? Or John Doe called me the blank word. Oh, and when I would point out that particular behavior fell under emotional abuse or physical abuse, it's almost immediate to pop back. No, Dana, you don't understand. I feel terrible now. I feel guilty. I have cast him in a poor light. Let me re-explain. So in my office, I have 2 white French doors. And I said, okay, let's say these are 2 bulletin boards, all right? And I have imaginary Post-it notes in my hand. So I said, good behavior. And I don't say bad behavior because that freaks him out. So I'll say not so great behavior. Okay, on this side. And I'll say, okay, brings you flowers. Where do I put that? Good side. Great. Okay. Where do I put he holds the door? Okay, great. Okay. Where do I put that he called you a? And I just get quiet because then they have to process in their mind, oh, that's incongruent. Those things don't match, so that they can start opening their eyes to, he's not a great guy. So I actually refer to this as the good guy fallacy.
Yeah. That's a really good way to do it. I mean, if as I'm listening to you, I would be like, there's no way, right? But
Yep.
I think it's wonderful that you have those 2 lists and help people, because I'm thinking back to some women that I've mentored and still am, where there's certain things even being dismissed.
And,
Oh,
absolutely.
That was a thought that came to mind.
And the other side of it is that I would have, sometimes couples come to me and they just want to tweak their marriage, improve it. They have an issue with an in-law. Okay, that happens all the time. But a significant number of couples that reach out to me, and I don't know if other local therapists experience the same thing, but for me, there's a lot of where the women are the victim and the husband is the abuser. Okay. And I'm not, I'm not like pro-misogyny. I'm not all men are, bad or they're great. It's just that's who reaches out to my practice. And so during some of these individual sessions, the women would say to me, this is what he did before the wedding, as in like choked me out, literally the night before the wedding. Well, why did you marry him? Well, I didn't want to disappoint everyone. A lot of family was coming into town. If I knew then what I knew now, because if they think that was bad, they don't know what bad is yet. And so I'm wanting to help these young women marry well, choose wisely. And then I want to use the older women as an example, because it's interesting. Part of what also spurred this was when I heard about the statistics on how many women watch true crime podcasts and programming versus men. Why would that be? You think more women would be like, oh, I don't want to see all the blood and guts or whatever. It's because they want to be safe. They want to know, okay, how do I protect myself from a Ted Bundy? How do I do that? So I thought, okay, if we could have those true stories that say, hey, Jane Doe went down the dark alley. Maybe I shouldn't go down the dark alley. It's the same thing. Let's not go down that dark alley and of abusive marriage, because it doesn't help the woman and it doesn't help the man either in the end.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, let's set each other free, right?
Exactly. You nailed it.
Yeah, let's set
Yeah.
each other free. When you said it, I thought of a title.
Okay.
Because you said the title, Marry Well, but
Uh-huh.
the title could be Young Women Marry.
Yes. Yes, I love it.
That Young Women Marry Well, that could be the title of the book.
Yes. Great
I
one.
really like that, and I like that you're using the older women as stories of examples. What do you think the common denominator of all of this? Is it low self-esteem? Is it low self-worth? Or what is it?
It's those things couched, like multiple things couched under a larger umbrella of an insecure attachment. So when we're raised by whoever the caregivers are, as when we're little, parents, grandparents, foster care, whatever it is, it's not how we attach to them, it's how they attach to us. So if there is an insecure attachment and they're in our business all the time, or they avoid, they're never there. They're there, but they're not there, right? Because you can feel abandoned even when you have, caregivers in the home. Then what we do is our brain says, oh, that's how we do life. So then when a woman, and and I feel that God has moved me to work with women, there are men that need the same help. That's just not the direction I'm being called in, okay? So for these women to be out there in the world, they may meet a guy, again, we'll say John Doe, and think, okay, he likes to bike, I like to bike. He likes to read, I like to read. He likes movies, I like movies. That's why they'll stay with someone who isn't good for them often. So we need to go from an insecure to a secure attachment. And it can be done in 90 days is what research shows. It's what I did myself.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good news. That's good news.
Right?
90,
Yay.
yeah. 90
Yeah.
days. That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
amazing.
90
Yeah,
days to turn your life around.
Yeah, neuroplasticity. How amazing is our brain that we have this research that shows that our brains can heal. So parts of the brain that are dormant can be lit up. The parts that are on fire can be calmed down.
Yeah, that's amazing. I find it interesting when you talk about the women that come to you, the women that you serve, and the women that you empower and support, are women that are Catholic women.
Yes.
And so I find it interesting because when I'm thinking of when I think of Christians, I just think that Christians really should have their act together. I do.
I get it. No, I get it. I totally
do.
get it.
I don't think we should have abusers
No.
in the Christian faith.
No, absolutely not. It's that they often, though, they'll use it as a manipulation. So they'll say things like, you should be subservient. Okay, but that's taking scripture, manipulating it, which actually goes against a commandment to not take God's name in vain. It's not just saying, GD. It is taking his name and making it worthless, diminishing it. So if a woman is to be subservient, all that means is helpmate. Well, my goodness, my husband and I help each other all the time. Like, I don't even know how to function without the man, right? And so it's amazing how something that should be good and holy can be twisted. And then there's so much generational trouble because my great granddaddy did it, and then my granddad, and it just keeps coming down the pike. And I'm the first woman in my family to say, no more. I'm the first. Okay, thank you. And then there's been rejection because of it, right?
Of course.
Because they want us, if it was, a boy, a girl, whatever, they want the children to, like, you got to stay over here and you have to stay in this box. You're not allowed to have your own opinion. Well, God made me an autonomous human being, and I'm not supposed to follow everything you say. And my life is so much healthier and happier and holier when I'm not forced into a box, which I'm no longer going to allow myself. And I haven't for about 20 years allowed myself to be in a box. But for the first 40 years of my life, 35, 40 years, I allowed it.
Yeah. And that's the piece, is to make that, to correct that. And also, I was talking about it with our previous guest, that it's about how we treat ourselves.
Yes.
First and foremost, and treat other people how you want to be treated. And personally, I don't call other people names, and personally, I don't bully other people, especially not in my inner circle, So it's the people that, that I love, and including myself. And it's like, we're here to lift each other up and love each other. Dana, I want to
nailed
be
it.
thank you. I want to let the audience know how they can find you. You're really fun to talk to. I can see how your women really, enjoy coming to see you. So let's tell the audience how they can find you on social media.
Okay, so if you go to dananygaard.com, and it's DANANYGAARD.com, you can get to all my social media there. What I'm promoting right now is my website, clarityplease.com, because that's what these women want. They want clarity. They want to understand, like the true crime analogy that I use. They want to know what's healthy, what's not healthy, what category am I in? Oh, how can I go from victim to survivor to thriver? Because God wants us to thrive. And I know you and I, we may use some different language of how, refer to a higher power. We all want the same basic thing, which is right. We want to be safe. We want to be loved. We want to be able to love other people. We want to be seen, and we want to see other people. So Clarity Please is a really neat access to a lot of the tools that I have to offer, and it's free. So there are goodies that are there for folks that they can access.
I think that's so great. I say, treat your lover, treat your husband the way that you would be proud that God is watching.
Exactly.
And
because he is.
if you do that, then you're in good shape.
That's exactly it.
And so I think that's a big piece, and it takes a lot of courage to put those boundaries down and to walk in that dignity and walk in that high self-respect that no, I will not tolerate this abusive behavior anymore, because think about it, if that's going on in the family, that's going to be transferred down to the children, as you were talking earlier. So thank you so much. You're so fun to talk to. I really enjoyed your energy and just your story and how you're sharing it, and it's wonderful. Maybe we can have you come back in the future for a longer discussion.
I'd love that. That'd be fun. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It is a pleasure to be here with you every weekend, and I look forward again to see you next week. Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.